Moving along to our weekly rant for episode 117 of Go Tell It to the Wall. It's funny, I actually had a rant prepared, and then I realized that I had done a rant similar to that a few episodes ago, so we had to kind of shift things around today. And then, it's funny, I actually almost switched it at the last minute because I had something else, but I was like, I'm going to save that rant for a future episode. But what I want to talk about today is parenting. Parenting. And I'm not talking about parenting in general. You know, we have a parenting segment on Go Tell It to the Wall. We have a parenting playlist up on YouTube. And I am not usually one to criticize parenting. I think as long as the child is safe, parenting is really your own thing. You know, there's a very fine line there. I get that. But I've never been one to say, you know what, that's not a good idea. And in fact, trust me, I take my 3-year-old to the park daily, and I see parents riding down the slide with their kid, like, right in front of them. And it takes, like, I don't want to say it takes all my strength, but I stop myself. I'm like, nope, this is not my place to say anything. If they're not aware that that is not a smart thing to do with your child, I'm not going to convince them here in 2 minutes on the playground. You know, so I'm not one to criticize. However, it has come up recently, really for a while now, since I've been a father, but really recently I'm seeing a lot of kind of detached parenting. And there's that free-range parenting, you know, concept, and it's fine. Like, again, I'm not here to criticize the little things. What I am here to criticize is just the carelessness of it. And I get it, it's hard. I'm a full-time stay-at-home father to my 3-year-old. That is my full-time job. My part-time job is doing this and going out and doing live events and hosting live events. My wife works full-time during the day. I work at night. So I'm home with my daughter all day. I get it. It's hard. She's 3. I spend my entire days arguing with my 3-year-old. It's hard. But the most important thing when it comes to being a parent is keeping an eye on your child. Keeping an eye on your child. And like I said, I take my daughter to the park daily. We walk a mile to the park and we walk a mile home. And recently I'm seeing so much of this just careless, not keeping an eye on your kids' parenting. And in fact, today was a perfect example of that. We were at the park, and there was a mother there who it looked like she was there with multiple kids. And just to give you an idea of the park where I take my daughter, they actually have one of those little workout areas for adults. You know, it's all like dirt around this area. Well, it rained quite a bit here in Los Angeles yesterday, Wednesday of this week in Los Angeles. So of course there was a lot of mud in that area where the grown-up, it's adult stuff, the grown-up exercise equipment is. This is what I say to my daughter, because she always like, no, that's for grown-ups. Which takes me to another thing, because all these parents letting their kids play on that, and it's, again, I'm not gonna say your kid shouldn't play on that, but I have to then tell my kid that she can't play on it despite the fact that their kid's playing on it. But back to the mud. I'm playing with my kid. She's climbing the rocks. You know, there's like these little play structures and stuff. And I look over because I hear a mother saying, no, what are you doing? And I look over and there is a 2-year-old, probably about 2 years old, standing more than ankle deep in a puddle of water in this mud. The mother is sitting over on a bench, and I could tell she had been looking at her phone and looked up for a second to see her child in that puddle of water and mud. So then she gets up, walks over, and pulls her kid out. And here's the thing. I get it. Trust, my kid gets into things all the time. This happens. This happens. But then what she did was she picked the kid up, she set the kid on the edge of the puddle, and then walked back to the bench to sit down. Said, no, we don't get in the water. What the fuck do you think the fucking kid's gonna do? What do you think? The kid's 2. The kid doesn't understand that you're saying don't do this. You took him out and you put him at the edge of it. What do you think's gonna happen? And sure enough, what happened? The kid walks right back into the puddle. And this isn't even to mention the other 2 kids that are literally hanging off of exercise equipment that is way too big for them. Way too big for them. But that's just one example of what I see quite often, and all too often lately. Another example at the park, we were there about a week ago or so, and there's a little girl who's probably like 5. I want to say 5. I don't know exact ages. Looks to be about 5, older than my daughter. And she's running around the park, and she is barking like a sea lion in all the kids' faces. And she comes up to my kid and starts barking in her face. Now, she's doing it playfully. I understand. She wasn't being malicious. I get that. However, some kids don't like that. My kid, in particular, does not like someone yelling in her face. And she definitely backed away. And then the mother of this child then said, we don't just do that to any kids at the park. And she stopped for a second, And then what happened? 1 second later, she's doing it again. 1 second later. Consistency with parenting. If you're going to correct a child, you have to continue to correct them. And there have to be consequences here. Again, I'm not one to criticize parenting. But when it starts to affect my child, like that sea lion barking in the face, then it's a problem. Or when I see you blatantly just not watching your kids and then getting upset at your kid because they got into a puddle of water, like, what do you expect? Kid's going right back in that puddle of water. It's absolutely ridiculous. And if you have your kid at the park, no reason to be on your phone. I understand maybe you get a message or something. I do the same. I look at my phone for a second in case my wife is calling me or texting me and I hear it ring, whatever. I'm looking at it for a second. I am not on my phone while I'm at the park with kids. I just don't do it. And headphones, forget about it. Never, ever, 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 ever do I have headphones in when I'm out with my kid. Because you need to be able to hear things. You need to be able to hear things. You need to be able to hear your kid. You need to be able to hear other kids. You need to be able to hear cars. You need to be able to hear everything that's around you if you're taking care of a small human being. At that point, it becomes you keeping another human being alive, not just yourself. And those are the things that need to be accounted for when it comes to parenting. And also, depending what you let your kids do at home, certain things, maybe don't let them do that out in public. I'm not even going to sit here and say what there was a little boy running around the park trying to do the other day. Kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was like, how does a 4-year-old, 3 to 4-year-old learn that thing? Keep it at home. Keep it at home. And we can do better for our kids, and we should do better for our kids, and we will do better for our kids in general. Because as parents, that's what we're supposed to do.